Hi, I'm Peter Fairfield. This is my dog Hannah. She's half coyote. She has a wild spirit and a loving heart. She works in my clinic. If you hear the chirping in the background, that's Mango. He's in the house. Kind of menagerie here. Here, sweetheart, get down. Yeah, good girl. Yeah, come on, good girl. Yeah. So today I want to talk about how I work with people on the phone. I work with people all over the world on the phone. And people say, oh, do you do energy work or what? But what I do is I bring people's consciousness and breath and awareness into all the parts of them that are disconnected. Now, I'm an acupuncturist, and I've studied Eastern medicine and Western physiology for over 40 years. And I've really developed a whole system of what I call Om psychiatry, which is a somatic-based system that looks at how the emotions and trauma are imprinted in the body, and then using meditative and Neigong and Qigong systems, which are energetic systems from China, I'm using the breath and awareness how to undo them. Now, since consciousness creates biology, that's a fundamental fact of creation, I guess you could say. Anytime we have an emotional block in the body, it minimizes how much energy and consciousness is in that part of the body, or the body can misinterpret signals from one thing to another. Like a lot of times we're angry, but we are really hurt or acting hurt, or a lot of times we act hurt and we're really angry and so forth. We transpose these things. So what I do with people on the phone, of course we talk, and I get a sense of what's going on in their life, what's possible, what's not possible, what they're having trouble with, relationships, work, money, all that kind of thing. But all of those things have a physiology. Like I was talking to one of my clients the other day on the phone, and he had just met a woman, a really fine woman, and he'd been looking for a relationship. And he thought, they went out a few times and were getting closer, and one morning he was lying in bed thinking about her, and he realized that he didn't feel good enough. He didn't feel like he was good enough for her. So when I talked to him, I had him bring back that idea, that feeling, and he felt that lack of goodness right in his heart and his abdomen. So feeling that sense of not being good enough, he breathed into this area and allowed himself to feel that I'm not good enough feeling. And pretty soon it dissolved. Now I can't say it's all gone. You might have to do that a few times. You might have to notice when a sensation or a feeling or a thought like that comes up. And in that process of coming up, you notice the physical sensation. Because all our thoughts, all our emotions that are reactive or emotional have a physical anchor in the body. A lot of times meditation teachers say, oh, it is so hard to stop the mind. And of course we've all experienced being kind of crazy sometimes in our mind, thinking about things or going on and on about things. But what I've discovered is that whenever we have an obsessive thought, like I'm angry or I hurt or I want this or I don't want that or can I get that or I'm afraid, if we go into the body, we will find a place in the body where the feeling of that thought is anchored. And by feeling the location in the body where we feel that, the mind stops immediately. Because we learn to disassociate. When we are traumatized or go through an emotionally difficult time, our parents are shut down or they're emotionally traumatized or so forth, it becomes painful. When we're a child or a human and we're not loved, we're not honored, we're not held in an unconditional way, and how many of us are, then we have little or major shutdowns or disconnections or re-edits. We don't want to feel that, so we begin to take that feeling rather than feeling it. It becomes a reactive thought. And that reactive thought can go on and on if we're disconnected from the body. As soon as we take a thought or an idea that's continuing or repeating, and we come down into the body and we begin to feel wherever that is, and it's a simple process once you get used to it of finding where that is and we feel that, again the mind stops. If we say, oh, I like that shirt, or what a nice dog, or let's go get dinner, we don't have to think about it again and again and again. It's a one-time thought, or at least in that moment. So any thought that we have that's repeating is a thought where it's a disconnection of the head from the somatic awareness in the body. We have a whole part of our brain, the base of our brain is called the basal ganglion. And it has to do with transferring somatic impressions up to our awareness and transferring a thought into action. It's the intermediary there. And so a lot of times we get tension in the back of the neck. And so there's a nerve in the back of the neck called the vagus nerve that goes down to the diaphragm, it goes into the heart. You know, we've all experienced squeaking a chalk on a board. And we go, eh, because we don't want to feel that feeling through our body. So by scrunching the back of our neck, what happens is we minimize how much that feeling, excuse me, is taken and experienced through the body. So when I work with somebody on the phone, because of my experience, I don't know, I've seen probably 30 or 40,000 people, which is not much compared to many physicians, but it's enough. We begin to see patterns. We begin to see patterns of how we shift polarity, how we shift emotions, how we misunderstand things. So gradually using the breath and awareness and beginning to feel subtler and subtler and subtler sensations, we put consciousness back into the physiology. And that's really where it belongs. You know, when you think about it, what's the purpose of being on earth? What's the one fundamental spiritual edict that we can understand? It's to experience life through this body. Now, there are a lot of teachings that discount the body or push the body away. Body's not important. But we have a body. So why not clear it out? And the clearer our body gets, the clearer our mind gets. Now, we don't have to be all clear to have a quiet mind. We can learn to do that. The Tibetans have a practice called Shinne, which means calm abiding. You're learning to just still the mind. But what happens is, in the process of stilling the mind, of sitting still, aches and pains and feelings come up, and then you gradually let them flow, and then you keep sitting and being still. But if we go into the body, we can deliberately and often quickly change lifelong patterns. Just like if I were doing acupuncture with someone. But instead of using needles or bringing awareness to certain parts of the body with heat or vibration, I often use tuning forks when people see me in person, or stones or cupping or something like that. We use the consciousness of our mind and the somatic impressions. We can go into our retinas. We can feel little blocked areas in our retinas. We can go into the brain. We can feel the numbness in the corpus callosum. We can open up the corpus callosum and feel the flooding of information between the hemispheres of our brain. We can open up blockages in the heart. We can go into places in the spine. If you have an ache in the spine, often, if you breathe into it until you feel kind of an expansion and a relaxation, right in between the vertebrae, you'll find a numb place and then a sore place. And then inside that, there's a little tiny sesame seed. I don't know what it is physiologically, but if you feel that and just experience it for a moment, it begins to open, and then the whole vertebrae just expands in that area. So it's so amazing how much control we have over our body. We can change our state. We can change our consciousness. We can change our awareness. So I believe, and this is the work I do, that first we clear the body, and then the mind begins to relax, and then we can experience the infinite. Now, I mentioned in another talk about deep happy, there is a core of our body that we can begin to feel that is non-interactive with our wounds and our karmic patterns. That's part of it. But with breath and awareness, we can do a lot, and that's really what I do on the phone with people. So if you have questions about that or stories about your own experience, I'd like to hear about that. Thank you very much.